Welcome to the Bothell City Council regular meeting of June 20th, 2017. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, all council members are here except Councilmember Freed and Councilmember Spivey, who are absent and excused. First on our agenda is the meeting agenda approval. I have a couple of items I'd like to, if the council's okay, I would like to rearrange the proclamations within the group of proclamations. There's a couple of additional proclamations. I found out that there's 3 little leagues, not 1 little league in the city of Bothell, so there's actually 3 proclamations if they're here tonight. The other thing I was hoping to do is to move up the Wayne Golf Course discussion, which is, let's see here, which item is that? Is it new business? Yeah. Oh, there it is. AB 17-0, I'm sorry, AB 17-102, and move that up to immediately after consent agenda. Is everybody okay with that on council? Okay. Any changes, any other changes, Councilmember Sandberg?
So you want the Wayne Golf Course to, after consent, so you're going to have proclamations, visitor comment, consent, and then Wayne Golf Course?
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Any other changes to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, how about the projected agenda? Councilmember Agnew?
Yeah, I'd like to move the comprehensive fire study that we have on July 11th to July 18th, if at all possible. It's kind of a book night, and I talked to both the fire chief and the city manager, and they seem to not have that much of an issue with it.
I'm getting head nods.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. Any other changes to the projected agenda? Seeing none. Review of upcoming public engagement opportunities. There they are. So we have the Chamber Community Open House, June 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Cascadia College, Mobius Hall. We have the Freedom Festival, the July 4th, beginning with the Pancake Breakfast, Station 45, Children's Parade, 4th of July Parade, and festivities begin at 8 a.m., like I said, at the fire station. The next is Music in the Parks concerts. They are starting. The first one will be Friday, 6:30 p.m. I'm sorry, they go through July 7th through August 25th at the North Creek Sports Field number 3. Last is the Main Street Block Party, 1-year commemoration of the Main Street Fire, July 22nd from 4 to 8 p.m. in downtown Bothell. Oh, it's Station 42. Darn it. I drive by that every day too. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go down to the podium there and give the proclamations. This is a huge crowd for us, by the way, so we're slightly nervous if we don't look like it. We are. Okay, so the first proclamation is to designate July as Parks and Recreation Month, and I think we have members of the Parks Board and the Parks and Recreation Foundation here to receive the proclamation. You guys, it's okay, they won't bite, I swear. Come on, we have the police chief right there, just in case they bite. All right, this is a little lengthy, but we'll do our best here. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Bothell, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and a region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build health, active communities, and aid in the prevention of chronic diseases, providing therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increasing property values, expansion of local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas the parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation area areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreation outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Bothell recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore be it resolved by the City of Bothell Council that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Bothell. All right. You guys got to fight over who gets it. You guys, we'll take it. Do rock, paper, scissors for who gets that. Okay, so the next item I have, is there anybody here from, well, I know there's people here from the North Shore Little League, so let's start with them. How about the North Shore Little League Dodgers? Go ahead and come on up here, guys. So just real quick before I start into this, I helped coach the AAA Dodgers in the North Shore Little League, and one of the things that we decided as a team that we wanted to do a proclamation, and having the mayor as one of the coaches was like, oh, that's a great idea. But come to find out, there's actually 3 leagues in the city. And so we didn't want to be preferential to one league over the other. So I have a proclamation for the 2 other leagues if they're here tonight. So we'll get to that in just a second. But let's read these guys' proclamation. And yes, I did write this for you guys. So the North Shore Little League AAA champions. Whereas the 2017 North Bothell and North Little Leagues had a fantastic season on the ball fields. And whereas the City of Bothell is proud of its sons and daughters that engage in team sports such as Little League Baseball. And whereas the North Shore Little League AAA Dodgers players are all boys from Bothell. Whereas this year each Dodgers player grew individually and played hard to become serious contenders in the sport of baseball. And whereas the Dodgers had to come from behind and defeat every other team in the North Shore Little League AAA division, some more than once, to become the champions. And whereas this group of boys came together as a team, not just a group, and showed all of us what a team can accomplish when individuals support each other. And whereas the parents that volunteered to support the team as coaches, managers, snack moms, umpires, bookkeepers, and more dedicated countless hours to the success of the team. Now, therefore, I, Andrew John Rayum, the mayor of the City of Bothell, do hereby proclaim June 13th, which was the day that you guys won the championship, as the North Shore Little League 2017 AAA Dodgers Day in the history of the city. All right, I'm going to process Little League. So, okay, is there anybody here from the, oh, thank you guys. Yeah, go ahead and sit back down. Or you can leave if you want. I won't blame you if you want it over. Next is the North Bothell Little League AAA champions. Going once, going twice. All right. Well, let's read it anyways. Whereas the 2017 North Shore, North Bothell, and North Lake Little Leagues had a fantastic season on the ball fields, whereas the City of Bothell is proud of its sons and daughters that engage in team sports such as Little League Baseball, and whereas the North Bothell Little League Apple Sox are all boys from Bothell, and whereas this year each Apple Sox player grew individually and played hard to become serious contenders in the sport of baseball. And whereas this group of boys came together as a team, not just a group, and showed all of us what a team can accomplish when individuals support each other. You see there's kind of a repetition to this. I really only had an hour to do this. Whereas the parents that volunteered to support the team as coaches, snack moms, umpires, bookkeepers, and more dedicated countless hours to the success of the team. Now, therefore, I, Andrew John Rayum, Mayor of the City of Bothell, do hereby proclaim June 15th as the North Bothell Little League 2017 AAA Apple Sox Day in the history of the city. The last one is the North Lake Farm League champions. Are those guys here? See, I didn't give them much notice. I feel bad about that. This is kind of a neat story. I'm not going to read the proclamation. Hopefully they'll show. But I did dedicate June 14th to their team. It's a lot of the same language. But one of the really interesting things about it is that the A's team, the North Lake Farm League A's team, they had the same experience where they had to beat every other team because they got into, they call it the loser bracket, which they should probably change the name of that, where you lose one game and then you got to beat every other team and beat the final team. They had to beat their final team. They had 2 championship playoff games, and they won. So there's a lot of boys this age group in the city that all experienced the same thing this summer, and it's just been it was an awesome experience for me, and it was really great to see these guys come together. And I'm sure the same experience was with all the other teams. So thank you guys for coming down. Appreciate it. If you guys want to escape, this is the time to do it. And then the people that are standing, if you'd like to sit in those seats, you can as well. There's seating out in the lobby. The council meeting plays out in the lobby, and there's big screen TV and stuff too, so you can go out there. See you, man. Okay, so we're on to the visitor comment section of our meeting. This is the time that each person addressing the council will give his or her name in an audible tone of voice for the record, and unless the council grants further time, shall limit the address to 3 minutes. No person other than the council and the person having the floor will be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through a member of the council without the permission of the mayor. And I have a group of sign-up sheets here. Uh-oh, they're out of number. Oh, here we go. First is Gavin Whistler. And I'm sorry if I say your name wrong.
Hi, I'd like to introduce someone who did not know about your yellow forms. She came to help support the Country Village, which is why I'm here. And her name is Lily, and I don't want to misspell or pronounce your last name. So could you come up, Lily, and show them your sign? I'll hold it for you. That's okay. I'll hold it.
So I just use this.
Okay.
Okay.
So come up, give them your name. I'll hold your poster. You can tell them maybe what the Country Village means to you.
Yeah, sure. All right. Testing. Haven't done this. Okay. So I wrote a little story about why Country Village needs to be saved, and unfortunately, it's way too long, so I'm trying to cut it down. But so every time I go to Country Village, I always let go of whatever made me like sad or stressed or whatever, even if only for a few hours. And Country Village was a shop where I picked up some really cool rocks for my dad and Father's Day. It's where I went to get my boyfriend his birthday gift. And it's where I bought a little amber-colored angel for his mom. And it's where I buy gifts for everybody. So the sound of the fountain softly bubbling takes a gift giver's mind away from the pressure to please the people they're trying to please. And there's little roosters in Country Village, and they're a welcome distraction to anyone's worries. It's like they go take a look at your worries and they just go peck, peck, they take them away. So that's really great. And I was having trouble finding a prom dress, and so I went there, and it was just really a great help to me. And I mean, Mom, can you we used to take me to Country Village, and we saw the roosters. Yeah, some good memories there, and there's this one shop. It's called O'Malley and Potter, and you walk in, and there's just all these scents surrounding you, and it's so calming. There's pretty rocks everywhere. It's just great. So,
Yeah, that's probably all they have time for.
okay.
But thank you. Thank you very much. We still have lots of petitions. And
you.
we're still trying to buy it with a 501c3. And since Jeff Bezos also said he's looking for a way to spend his money, I'm writing a proposal to him right now.
Ma'am, just to make sure, you are Gavin Whistler?
I am.
Okay, just thank you. Next is Annette Loy.
Good evening. I've been a Bothell resident for 31 years and have loved living here in Bothell, and I'm speaking tonight in favor of the acquisition of the Wayne land. I think it's a magnificent opportunity, extraordinary opportunity to have an open space that all of us can enjoy, especially in light of all the high rises being built here in Bothell. So I'm in support of it and thrilled that we have that opportunity. It hasn't been lost. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Pamela Kenworthy Larson.
My name is Pamela Kenworthy Larson, and I'm here to address a street issue. This would be from Meridian and 240th Southeast to Bothell Everett Highway and 240th. Building, as you know, has gone crazy, so I decided one weekend I was going to take a drive around to actually see how many homes were being built in the area. I went out a quarter of a mile, then I went out a half a mile. This road, that 240, is called a connector road. After I did this, I found out that there was 400 houses in that area that use this road, not probably on a daily basis, but they use it. 240 has become very, very crowded. When you come from Bothell Everett Highway, then all of a sudden everybody's coming out of Safeway, which knots up the traffic. It's hard to get in and out. You travel a little bit further, you're at the light at 7th, which is always very crowded. And then, I don't know why, but they're putting in 98 townhomes in the back of Country Village, but they're going to have 200 cars enter and exit on 240th, where it's already just jam-packed. I mean, just yards down from the 7th Avenue traffic light. This is where all the kids go to Bothell up that road. We have people cutting through to I-5, 405. Connector road, I think, is kind of an old term. The last time they did a count on the cars was 2015. With all the added building and people coming to the community, which we expect. But I don't think we're keeping up with the infrastructures, with the roads. As you travel further up to the four-way stop at Meridian and 240th, it's always very crowded. It's really an issue there. And they were thinking of putting in a circle, a round circle. Well, once you get going downhill, down Meridian, it's kind of hard to put on the brakes and use the circle system. And it's a very tense intersection with people waiting to come and go. So. And the building around the area, it's like kind of an analogy here. You could fit 400 people into the swimming pool over here at McMenamins. You could. But nobody can swim. And that's what I'm seeing happening to the roads around here with all the new construction. So I'd like you to keep that as a thought. And the traffic on 240th and going up 7th, I haven't seen anybody with a radar gun on that street in 25 years. Maybe I missed it, but never have I seen it. And I would say that nearly 60 to 65% of the people on 240th and 7th Avenue Southeast are over the speed limit continually. Thank you.
Ma'am, I just want to connect you with the city manager because there's a couple items there that we can actually do something about. But I just would ask you to get her business card from her, and we'll be in contact with you.
Okay.
All right. I have your.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I give them your phone number?
Yes.
Okay, and just
don't
her.
say it out
Just
loud.
her. Yeah. Oh, and she lives at. No, just kidding. Okay. Next is Michelle Connor.
It's great to be here tonight. I'm Michelle Connor, here tonight representing Forterra, a regional sustainability organization working through real estate to help keep the place we live, the place we love. Forterra is proud to have joined forces with the Bothell community to intervene in the imminent development of the 87-acre Wayne Golf Course and purchase both the front and back 9 in 2016. We've worked doggedly with the city staff and citizens to raise millions of dollars in grants that bring us a long way towards the acquisition of the property. Now it's your turn to act, and we are collectively dependent on your leadership tonight. On behalf of Forterra Northwest, our members, and the 20 philanthropists who stepped up to guarantee our emergency acquisition, I urge you to approve moving forward with the purchase of this unique community asset. This property is important for our region's salmon runs, for a regional bike trail that's enjoyed by thousands of people every month. And perhaps more importantly, it is a definitive keystone that ties the great work you've done in downtown to create a vibrant neighborhood and community to the natural world that defines not just Bothell, but our region. While you are charged with managing many of the city's priorities, financial and otherwise, I urge you for a moment to put into your mind the most beautiful public park that you ever visited, or the happiest day that you spent with your children or your parents on open ground. Put that in your mind's eye and ask yourself the question, who bent the arc of history to provide that special place for you and for your family? As you sit before us today, representing the interests of the citizens of Bothell and the aspirations of our region, this is your time. Those privileged to visit the Wayne Sammamish Regional Park in the future will thank you, as I do and as all of us do, for bending the arc of history when the opportunity came before you. Thank you for your leadership and for delivering on the opportunity that Forterra's supporters made possible, for a do-over on a property that once was almost lost forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Judy Carpenter.
Hi, I'm Judy Carpenter. Council members and community members. We would not be here talking today about the future of Wayne Golf Course if it weren't for Bothell communities coming together, the creation of One Bothell and Forterra, who envision a future for this beautiful open space. To each and every council member, my sincere hope is that you vote yes and do your part to save this wonderful land for the future of Bothell and surrounding communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Palumbo. I'm going to take a picture of him. Just, it's okay.
Wow, I feel important all of a sudden. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Guy Palumbo, State Senator from the 1st. Thank you for having me today. I just wanted to say, I wish I could be here today to give you all a great update. I literally just drove up from Olympia and I could say the budget's done and we're good to go, but unfortunately that's not the case. Just real quick before I get into Wayne, just to give you an idea, for those that don't know, I hear from a lot of you, and the city is waiting on bated breath. Our kids, our school boards, everybody's waiting for the shoe to drop so we know what's going to happen. As a freshman legislator who's not on the budget committee, what I can tell you is that there's literally 8 to 12 people that are sitting in a room deciding the $41 billion budget. So I hear you, I hear your frustrations, and I would love nothing better than to give Erin and your staff and everybody and Carol, letting them know what their budgets are going to look like. But I'm one senator and we're trying desperately to get something done, but it's kind of a closed door negotiation at this point. I expect that we will go all the way up until July 1st. I'm planning on being there. I'm canceling a few family vacations. I'm planning on being there at, 2 in the morning on the 1st while we're voting on the floor on the budget before the government shutdown. I feel confident that we will not have a shutdown, but it's going to go right up to the wire. So that's where that is. Regarding Wayne, for those of you that don't know, I was able to get $1 million in the capital budgets in the Senate budget, unrestricted for Wayne. I thought it was a great move. It was my top priority as a capital ask. It's currently not in the House budget, but Representative Stanford and Representative Kloba are fighting for it on that side of the fence as well. The problem that we have right now is that $1 million, as well as the entire capital budget, is in jeopardy because the Senate Republicans in charge of that committee are holding it hostage for what's called the Hearst fix. So for those of you that know about the Hearst water decision that came down from the Supreme Court, there's legislative negotiations going on about those exempt wells. And right now, the capital budget in its entirety is a hostage, essentially. So I'm hopeful that those negotiations will go well. We'll get a fix on Hearst and we'll get a capital budget this year, but it's possible that we won't. And that's where that $1 million sits right now. So I'm desperately trying to get that money for you guys so that we can get this purchase done. as a former board member of One Bothell with Jesse and John T. and David, I've never been a part of a community group like this. The way that this bubbled up from the ground up, and you're all aware of it, this is an amazing community experience. And as Forterra just mentioned, the heavy lifting was done early, but we need you to close the gap. We need you to close strong with this, whatever it might be, 5 million or so that you guys can do what you want for your community, for our grandkids, and what you want in that park in those unrestricted acres. It's really important that you vote yes tonight. Thank you very much for your time.
Next is Barbara Harris.
Hello, I'm Barbara Harris, and I am here to urge you to vote yes to purchase the Wayne property as well. It is a rare and beautiful piece of property that I don't know of another place in this area that is like that we have the opportunity to save this, preserve this, not just for our enjoyment, but for our kids and their kids forever. There are not enough of these spaces left. It is part of our community identity. If we don't purchase it, who knows what would go there, and it would just add more congestion with traffic through there. It is on the Burt Gilman Trail, which joins Seattle to us. People can come from all over to enjoy this property, and the environmental benefits of keeping it to help with soil erosion around the river, the water quality, and all of the green space, the trees and the grass just helps improve air quality overall. So please vote yes and fund the rest of the purchase of this property. Thank you.
All right, we got a penmanship thing here. Hold on a second. Monica Hubbard.
That doesn't bode well that you can't read my name, being a former teacher. My name is Monica Hubert, and I'm here also to hopefully encourage you to vote yes on the Wing Golf Course acquisition. With everything that's going on in the city right now, with the building and the apartments and the townhomes that are being constructed and the heavy traffic, I think a balance for that in the Wing Golf Course property would equalize the quality of life for Bothell. If we just have what's happening in the city right now, we have a lot of angry people. And this is the only thing that's happening, and this is what Bothell is doing. But from the state revenue and the tax revenue that we will get from these buildings, we will have hopefully more to then put into a quality of life, because really quite a bit of our quality of a small town is gone with the traffic, etc. But we can bring that back by balancing it with the park and Bothell. Kind of think of 10 years from now, how would we feel if we pass this opportunity up? If Bothell is just this place with a lot of high rises and townhomes and not the park. So I highly encourage you, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Next is Sarah Glerum.
I am Sarah Glerum, and a resident of Bothell for the last 7 years. Certainly One Bothell has created a fondness for Bothell and me that was not there before this wonderful project came to us, the acquisition of Wayne Golf Course. And for that, I'm so grateful to One Bothell and to the council and to Forterra. Now, I cannot make any comments nearly as eloquent as Michelle did from Forterra, but I urge you and hope you will vote tonight for that AB 17102, which is actually letting us as citizens and your constituents in Bothell have a say in the development of those 4 acres on either side of the front and the back of the golf course. here we have this wonderful park, and I have no doubt that we will keep it a park. I know we're going to manage that to acquire this land for the city and the region. But it's like the gateway to our city. And so don't we want to have something, some flexibility there for the future in terms of the 4 acres that we would hold out so that there could be an education center, a training place, or something that people need, the constituents need, the residents here need. So I will leave you with this one thought. Let's say that somebody came to me, Sarah Glarum, and offered me a Picasso painting or maybe a Rodin sculpture. And I'm going, oh, well, you know, I really don't have any wall space for that. And I don't know where I put, no, I don't think I can take it. So to lose this opportunity would feel kind of like that. So I hope you all vote yes on that particular item tonight. Thank you.
Next is Fran Lyman. Sorry if that's incorrect. Correct me.
Hi, thank you very much. Yes, I'm Francesca Lyman, and I'm a Bothell resident. And I just wanted to echo all the comments that have been made in gratitude to One Bothell and to Forterra and to the city for putting this together and working so hard. And I really think that to pass up an opportunity like this would be such a shame. And I think of Bothell as sort of like a big city at the turn of the last century, you know, when they were completely remaking their city, and that's what you're doing. And I mean, think of New York City without Central Park. Think about Bothell without that Wayne land, without the Sammamish, the people kayaking along the Sammamish Slough, the Burke-Gilman Trail, all those things coming together. It's such a beautiful thing, and I just want to encourage you to go ahead with that. I'm so pleased about the $1 million that may be coming our way, and I think that the city now has the chance to step up and do its part. So I hope you do that. Thank you so much.
Next is Catherine Sharp.
Hi, my name is Kathy Sharp, and I've been a resident in unincorporated Bothell for 32 years, but now for the last 2 or 3 years, whenever you annexed us, I am now a citizen, a proud citizen of Bothell. And I do want to say, before I speak about the Wayne Golf Course, we have had excellent service from your staff people in our Bothell neighborhood now that we've been added to the city limits, and every interaction with Bothell has been positive. So thank you for drawing the circle wider to include us. I live on the Norway Hill area, and I'm always driving through the area that would go past the Wayne Golf Course. And now that I have recently retired, I'm increasing my use of the Burke-Gilman Trail and the Bothell Park at the Landing and Blythe Park. And this is all such a connected amenity. Recently, I read a book that talks about the concept of nature deficit disorder. It's a real thing. And it talks about our children, and I think it would apply to adults as well, that we actually become more stressed out with greater health problems when we have not given ourselves the opportunity to immerse ourselves in nature, that nature itself has healing properties. And so I really encourage us to keep this green space. It's not only healthy from an ecosystem standpoint, but it is healthy for our own bodies and our children and people of all ages to be able to have passive, calm parks where they can participate freely, and it's in a close commute to where they live. So I hope you will vote in favor of acquiring this and using it for parkland. Thank you.
Next is Bill Moritz.
Good evening, Council. Bill Moritz. I wanted to let you know that obviously I support the Wayne project totally, and admire the work that all the people have done to get us this far. But we have to think, what's next? After we get the property, what are we going to do? And I know that's going to be a difficult thing to accomplish, but my wife and I, sorry, have pledged some modest amount of money to be used to start that process. And what I'm hoping to do is issue a challenge grant, a challenge to get other people to contribute. We will match that up to obviously our limit, but as a way to get started in preserving and restoring the wetland area and the park. I've already talked to Michelle about that, and we want to move forward with that. So I hope you'll give me the opportunity to spend my money.
Next is Don Wolf.
Good evening. My name's Dawn Wolf. I really don't have anything to add that all these people before me haven't said more eloquently, except to point out to you that this is an opportunity that you cannot put off or reconsider later. Once this land is gone, it will be gone forever. So please consider that when you vote tonight. Thank you.
Next is Kevin Kiernan. I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly.
Yes, Kevin Kiernan, Bothell resident for over 30 years now, annexed in somewhere along the way. But I want to add my voice to those that have come before me supporting the acquisition of this property. It is a unique opportunity both for habitat and recreation, and with the growth we are experiencing, preserving this space is essential. Just at the start of this meeting, you had a proclamation for parks, recognizing the importance of groundwater, surface water, and habitat. This property gives you a unique opportunity to advance those goals. So vote yes. Thank you.
Next is, I think it's Lisa Usman.
Hello, my name is Lisa Yusum, and I'm a member of the Bothell High School cross-country team, and some fellow teammates and my coach are here. And we're here to talk about the Wayne Golf Course and how we want the city to purchase the land, because as our home meet for every year, we use the St. Ed's Park down in Kenmore. And it's kind of a dangerous place to have our home meet because there's lots of roots, and we even had one of our members get injured and sprain their ankle last year, and they couldn't run for 4 weeks. But regardless to that, we still have our meet there every year, and we're starting to think that it might not be the best place. So we want to use the Wayne Golf Course as a place where you can have our home meet instead, because we'll get faster times, our spikes won't get ruined by the gravel, and we will have obviously less injuries. So we want the city to have this land so we can use it for our place. And additionally, we just wanted to make a comment about how Bothell High School is up on that hill over there, and next to it were multiple neighborhoods. And we used to do this practice which we would call woods to woods, where we would run from one wood to the other wood. And now both of those are gone due to construction. So we've had to change our practices and our courses, and we're running down the Burt Gilman Trail. So we actually run to Wayne Golf Course every day as well. So if that space was taken away, it would again take away from our team and from our sport, and really take away from the sport we love. So please say yes to getting the land. Thank you.
Next is David Bain.
Might be out the back.
Hi, I'm David Bain, and I'm here to encourage you to go ahead with the purchase of the Wayne Golf Course. And I think you've heard lots of reasons why, but one thing I'd like you to think about is with this purchase, we would have public land from Kenmore city limits to Brackett's Landing. And instead of looking at it as just the Wayne Golf Course, I think we have the opportunity to create a world-class riverside park. So, you hear about Riverwalk in San Antonio, or maybe we can even compete with the left bank in Paris or something like that. But, I think we have a lot of possibilities where we can think bigger than just the Wayne Golf Course. I've been working on this for a year and a half, and there's very widespread support for having a natural area and activities that are good for people that support the natural area. So, things like picnic shelters and parking lots and restrooms and things that'll let people enjoy it. And I think we could also do an environmental science education center there that also serves as a community center and, kind of be the business end of the park, so that we have businesses that support the recreational and educational activities there. And the sooner we get this done, the sooner we can start creating jobs in that area. And then one thing we haven't explored yet, but we're scheduled to start working on next week, is getting the University of Washington Bothell campus engaged in the planning process, so that we can be educating college students there, as well as elementary school students we can bring in to learn about rivers and restoration, and being able to go out and plant trees there that they can watch grow up for 50 years and show off to their grandkids. So I think there's a whole lot of potential there. King County Conservation Futures advanced a lot of money to us this year so we could get it done this year, and it would be nice to honor their efforts by getting this done. As Senator Palumbo said, we probably have to wait a couple weeks to get the final count on the state contribution, but we're already to the point where we've got funding for all but 8 acres that the city wants to keep control over. So if you really want all 8 of those acres, then this is the time to move ahead with the purchase. So it's been a pleasure working with all you guys this year, and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Next is John T. Barnes.
I'm going to keep this short. First, I just want to say thank you for everyone turning up. I mean, wow, standing room, there's a crowd in the foyer. I don't know if we've had that before, but it's pretty amazing turnout by the community, and it just shows how important this is. I think I just want to say, get it done. Now is the time. We've been working very hard. I think the state has talked about how hard they're working or have worked. It's nice to see Rosemary here. King County are here, and they've been working extremely hard. But Tara, I mean, what an amazing organization. And I know the city have put in a lot of time. I've been having the privilege to sit down at a table with a bunch of you and talk about this as an important issue. And our families, like the support that I've had from my family, it's been pretty incredible with the time we've put into this. So, it matters. It matters for the future, so it's time to get it done. So I would just echo everything that everybody has said, and are likely to say in favor of getting this vote done. Thank you.
Next is Kathy Fabergé. And that's the last one I have. So if you do have more, there's some more. But if you have another sign-up sheet, just go ahead and bring them to the clerk.
Yeah, Kathy Fabergé. So I brought letters from 3rd graders from Canyon Creek who visited North Creek Forest on Friday. Dr. Bain, who was just here, showed them how to test soil and water, and then I taught them each one teach one, so I made them an expert about a native plant, and then they taught each other. So they had a really good time, and I'll just give you a little sample of what they said. You should buy Wayne's golf course because so many houses are being built and the animals have no place to go and they're going to die. Do you want that? The Sammamish River runs by the golf courses, and the golf courses use lots of fertilizer. Fertilizer gets into the water and hurts living things in it. Please don't let it turn into a bunch of new houses. You can turn it into a place where wildlife can roam. Though it will make the water cleaner, it will be delightful to have another forest like North Creek Forest. Thank you for your help. So that's just a little sample. And I'm urging, as everyone has, to make the decision to move forward to the acquisition of Wayne Golf Course and create the Wayne Sammamish Recreational Park. Children are healthier, saner, and more grounded with the wilderness next door. We're not going to have hundreds of miles of forest up and down the West Coast or the abundance of wildlife that existed a century ago. Places like North Creek Forest, Shelton View Woods, Wayne Golf Course are remnants of the past wilderness. But these remnants are places to cherish, protect, and preserve and restore. Our children need to have a natural world in their future. Your decision to save this space demonstrates love and respect and wisdom for future generations. Thank you.
Next is Jesse Sears.
I got here early hoping to put my name up first to talk, but got distracted talking to everybody and forgot to fill out the form. So first off, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's showing up today. It's been a long few years to make this happen, and I'm really proud to be a community member of Bothell here and seeing the support that we have for this project and where it wants to go. And I'd like to say thank you to the council for all your work that you've done up to this point and will continue to do with us, and to the staff and Forterra and the state and everybody here that's kind of coming together as a region to show their support for this this piece of property. This has been a long legacy vote, meaning that this has been ongoing since the 90s. The county and the state came together to start the conservation easement in the 90s, and the council then had the foresight to come up with a conservation easement that gave us some wiggle room as far as purchase goes. And now we're here. And we've got another big decision to make tonight to be able to move this forward, to be able to give basically everybody in this room a voice of what this property comes forward. So we're talking about funding, and then we talk about what's going to come of the property. And I think that this funding model is very important because it will allow everybody to have the seat at the table to be able to say what they want to see this property become. And I think David Bain said it perfectly. We're not talking about just the front 9 and the back 9. We're talking about a regional green space throughout our community that's completely unique anywhere else in King County. We have something here that's unbelievable. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity. And the decision that's going to be made tonight is going to reflect that. I encourage everyone on City Council to vote yes. I'd love to see a unanimous vote. And I can tell you that the partnerships that have been developed through this process, not only with the city, with the organizations like One Bothell and with Forterra, but with King County and the state, isn't going anywhere. This has only gotten stronger, and as this land gets worked on and becomes what it's going to be, those partnerships are going to become more important, and they're not going anywhere. They're here to support us. They're here to support us forward, and I just wanted to say thank you, and I don't want that beeper to go off. I don't like that beeper. So, all right. Thanks, you guys.
Next is Bob Hurst. If it's Bob.
I'm looking at those Hurst wells you talked about. I'm Bob Hurst. I've been here for 40 years. I've gotten to drive through Bothell Way and look at Wayne Golf Course every day for 40 years. That's 300 days a year, home and back. That's 20-some thousand trips. My business overlooks Wayne Golf Course. It's a beautiful place. I wouldn't want to sit on a council that lost it. It would be an embarrassment. I'm going to need your indulgence. I want to do a little something here that might really sway the vote. I'd like to ask that everybody under 18 years old come forward. Anybody out there? Kids? Everybody? No, stand over there in front of all the people. I'm just an old goat here. Everybody? 18 and under? 18 and under? Great. Bring them all in. We don't bite. Council, these are the people we owe this park to right here. every one of them. We owe it to you guys to leave you a nice park, and this is it. If we don't, never let them forget it. Thank you all. That's all I have to say, so, but thank you. All right?
Next is Philip Moser.
Hi, my name is Philip Moser, and I'm addressing these remarks to the mayor, council members that are here, council members that aren't here, and everybody else that is here. I don't need any counter arguments to anything because I haven't heard anybody speaking against acquisition of this park, and I am in favor of acquisition of this park. So I'm not adding any of my own words to this, but I'd like to read some of the community's words. And that is from the visioning statement, approximately 86 acres in total. Wayne Golf Course has been called one of the largest private undeveloped acreages anywhere in the central Puget Sound metropolitan area. Includes half a mile of Sammamish River frontage, historic apple orchard, acres of wood in proximity to Blythe Park and the Burke Gilman and Tote River trails. The Bothell vision statement, I think, was carefully thought out. I think it's really good. And I urge you to look at it in making this decision because it's very clear on what we should decide about this park area, about this open space. I also urge you to look at what the community looked at and talked about when there was a visioning participation, because there were 12 items that ranked from the top to the bottom. Every single one of them required acquisition to implement. Thank you.
So that's the last sign-up sheet I have. Is there anybody else that would like to provide public comment? Go ahead and come up and give your name for the record.
Good evening, Council. My name is Steve Holmes, 18-year resident of Bothell and businessman. So I'll just share what my customers say since I'm the rental guy that rents kayaks down the Sammamish River. I got hundreds of people, residents, that have never been on the river, and they come back and they experience it, and they all like to go down the Wayne's golf course. They don't want to go upriver, they want to go down. So I get a lot of people on the river, and they love the Wayne's golf course. More interesting enough, with all our marketing, I got people from Florida that come every year, and they want to paddle the Sammamish River. And so I find that pretty interesting. So, and then we're getting people from Seattle, they're going, never knew this existed. This is amazing. This is an amazing place. So Bothell has something that is very great. And I'm sure you're all going to vote yes on this because we can't lose this. It'd be crazy if we did. So I know you're all going to vote yes. And so I appreciate all the work that you put in. And good evening.
Would anybody else like to provide public comment? Go ahead and give your name for the record.
Hello, I'm David Hobowitz. I grew up in Tampa, Florida, and very close to my house, there was this big, what we would call undeveloped land. We called it the woods, where me and my brothers and friends would all go and play all the time. When I grew up, I went to college, and I came back. Yes, I went to University of Florida. I hope they're winning. And I came back one summer, and it was gone. It was an apartment complex. We were devastated because I know that in that land, as one of my projects for Eagle Scout was to do an assessment of it for Environmental Science Merit Badge. And in there were gopher tortoises, which are an endangered species. Now, of course, we have our own wildlife and things that are going on there, and we have our own kids that are playing in those woods. And I would hate for them to go away to anywhere other than Florida and come back and find that developed as an apartment complex or a neighborhood or anything like that. And knowing how these things come, and there will be a brief moment where that opportunity exists, I ask that you consider this as you're making your vote to protect this land that is so precious and is contiguous and is certainly a rare part of our neighborhood. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to provide public comment? Going once? Garrett? No? Okay. That's right. You don't have to. Okay. Is he coming? No? Okay. Do it.
Garrett Holbrook, King County Council Member, Rod Dembowski's office. Just on behalf of Rod and the council and the county, I'm sorry that more of us aren't here. Unfortunately, it's just a bad day for county employees. We just want to thank you for your hard work and participation in this process. Council members, you have been wonderful to work with from a county perspective as partners on this project. The county intends to remain involved and be an active participant as we move to restoration and development of the park and its tie-in as a regional trail connection for us. It's a piece of property that the county has wanted to connect with for decades, from the first conservation easement that was placed on the property with the county's help 20 years ago. So thank you. Look forward to your vote tonight. And yeah, just thanks so much for being a great partner in this.
All right. Anybody else? Oh, no, we can't do a second time, unfortunately. Sorry. Oh, it opens a big can of worms if we do a second time. Anybody else would like to speak for the first time? Nope. Okay, we're going to move on. So we're going to on to the consent agenda. No items have been moved from consent. Is there a motion to move?
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilmember Agnew to pass the consent agenda. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, place your vote. Passes unanimously with Councilmembers Spivey and Freed absent and excused. So now we moved it up. So AB 17-102, consider providing city manager approval to initiate acquisition of the Wayne Sammamish Regional Park utilizing the staff acquisition plan. And I believe we have the Parks Director, John Keats, to kick us off.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My pleasure to be here tonight, and I do have a short PowerPoint presentation for you, and I'll just kick that off. So, as has been said tonight, the City of Bothell is partnering with Forterra King County, One Bothell, to facilitate the acquisition and permanent protection of the Wayne Sammamish Regional Park, and this slide is reflection of the visioning work that was done last year with community help and help from all of our partners. This slide here just shows you a little bit of the grounds down there at the site with more than 2,000 linear feet of tributary, riverbank, and riparian habitat along the Sammamish River. The acquisition of this land will be protected for the community and the region in perpetuity. Very unique site has been mentioned. And also this is a good shot of the grounds there. Was mentioned also that the property is one of the largest undeveloped sites remaining on the Sammamish River watershed, and is at an extreme risk of development in a fast-growing area. So get into the meat of the presentation. We've worked a long time on this, a couple of years now with the four partners I mentioned before. Partners are Forterra, King County, One Bothell, and the City of Bothell. Mentioned the visioning project that was completed during the summer of 2016 with a lot of community assistance. The partners in the city have been busy with fundraising, grant applications. We prepared and submitted for the acquisition. And as of now, the acquisition cost for the front 9 and the back 9 totals $10,903,949. So on May 9th, we had a study session here in the council chambers, and just briefly recap some of the main points from that meeting. But staff recommendations were to provide maximum future flexibility on both the front 9 and the back 9 by reserving the 4 acres on each property that would not be impacted by grant restrictions. These are commonly known through the process as the activity areas. We also recommend implementation of an aggressive acquisition plan with the intent to purchase the property no later than December 31st of this year. Partner with Forterra to secure the services of a short-term golf operator if the present golf manager terminates the operations by the end of September of this year, which we've heard is possible. Also recommendations not using the allocated funding of $3.7 million for the purchase of the Wayne Sammamish Regional Park, rather using these funds to leverage future grant opportunities such as the Snohomish County Shelton View Forest acquisition, which we were fortunate recently to learn we have $1 million conservation futures grant for one of the parcels in the forest up there. And then lastly, issue councilmatic bonds to finance the city share of the acquisition, estimated to be between $3.5 and $5.5 million, using park impact fees to make the annual debt payments, which are roughly $80,000 for about every $1 million of debt. And in 2016, the city received just about $500,000 of park impact fee revenue. And I think in your packet also gives you more information on forecasts for park impact fees in the future. So with that, the recommendation is to direct the city manager to initiate the acquisition of the Wayne Sammamish Regional Park, utilizing the staff acquisition plan, and return to city council with a full funding acquisition plan at a later date. And that concludes my formal presentation. I'm available for questions, as is Tammy and Carol from the finance department. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Finance Director, out of the gate, or are you just ready for questions?
We're just here to answer any questions that you guys have.
Okay, great. So let's open up the floor to the council. Who would like to ask questions first, if we have questions? They're shy. There's a lot of people here. Councilmember Sandberg.
I have a question for our finance director. Is it safe to say that that the borrowing costs for money is basically you factor in an additional 60 to 100% to the cost of borrowing money? So if we were to borrow $5 million, we could, on the upper end, be paying over the term of the bond upwards of $10 million total?
It would depend on what the price was. It would also depend on how many years you went out with the debt. I'd have to do an actual, going through it in my head. No, I would actually have to run some calcs to actually give you the exact number, but that's probably most likely true.
And then you said, so on the slide, to finance $1 million in debt, it would be an $80,000 a year debt payment. What's the term on that? Is that a 25?
20 years, and that was at, I believe, 3.75%. I think more than likely, if we did a competitive sale on bonds, we'd be looking at 3.25 to 3.5%.
Okay. And then, I don't know if this is a question for you or for our Parks Director, but do we have an estimate of what ongoing maintenance and operation costs would be for that 87 acre, 89, 87?
Yeah, it's a Park Director question, but he happened to answer it for me, so I can tell you it's probably $175,000 to $200,000 a year.
Okay. And then we did hear from our Senator Palumbo, that the $1 million capital request may not come to fruition if it's not included in the House budget as well. But we have an additional pending grant request from the Surf Board, which is an additional $1 million. Do we have a sense of the likelihood of receiving that?
I haven't heard from the Parks Director for a couple weeks on that, so I'll let him answer.
Thank you.
Councilmember, anything I guess I would say would be kind of speculative at this point, so I really can't tell you with any kind of certainty where we would fit on those, on any of the grants just yet. There's just too many things that can happen.
And if we decide to move forward this evening, and if we do purchase the property from Forterra by the end of the year, will we continue to seek grants, and will we be competitive in that grant process to offset our local contribution?
We could go after state grants still if we, before we close on the property, ask RCO for what's called a waiver of retroactivity. And then basically when you go in for a grant application after that, the evaluators will know that you've already bought the property. Technically, they're supposed to put that in the back of their mind, not consider that. So, you know, I think we would still have a legitimate shot at money, but, you know, whether that would influence how they would evaluate any specific grant, you know, remains, it's kind of unknown at this point.
And right now we're talking about 8 active acres, so 4 acres on the front 9, 4 acres on the back 9, to maintain maximum flexibility, which is a cost, because if we want to have full flexibility on the use of that acreage, we would forego grant opportunities that would impose conditions. So is there any chance or opportunity to reduce our, you know, our immediate financial impact by decreasing the amount of active space, you know, in our master plan? Or is it still going to cost us the same amount regardless?
Well, I think we're at the point now with the funding mechanisms that we've set it up with our matching money and our grants that we're looking at the 4 and the 4. There still are a couple grants that we could conceivably go after in the next grant round that are less restrictive than, say, conservation futures grants or surfboard grants or something like that. But they still have a certain, you know, certain limitations to them. And for instance, you can't put buildings on the property, but you can make recreation amenities. Those are okay. So that's possible. But other than that, I think we're at a point where basically we have the resources we have, and that's pretty much it.
And there's been some discussion about public-private partnerships on the 4 acres of the front 9. Do we have any more details on that? And when we purchase the property from Forterra, will there be conditions of sale placed upon the city as a part of that purchase and sale agreement?
Well, we haven't negotiated a purchase and sale agreement yet, so, but to answer your question about the activity zones, there is the possibility that you could still move forward with those. It's, you know, I don't see any problem with that, but a public-private partnership, if we were to go down that road or some point, we would have to probably at some point do a request for proposals to just, because we don't even know what would be out there at the present time anyway. So City of Seattle not too long ago did a similar exercise, I think, for their, I think it's Magnuson Park or the old seaplane base, and they asked for requests for proposals on a hangar in there, and that's how they approached it, was by asking anybody with any creative ideas to come forward and give them a proposal on how they would utilize the space. And we could obviously do the same thing, but we'd also probably want to do a master plan at some point too after we close on the property.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Deputy Mayor.
This question is actually for the Finance Director. Can you share what the carrying costs currently are for the city under our agreement with Forterra at this time?
I think it's right around 4%.
So what does that equal per year?
Well, it would be probably about 320,000.
So right now we're paying $320,000 per year not to purchase the land. Okay. Do you have any idea, or could you give us some sort of idea what the possible economic benefit would be to the city in terms of this land? I mean, I know it's really hard to put numbers since we don't have activities currently for those 8 acres, but in terms of tourism and bikers coming through town and that sort of activity, would you consider it to be an economic benefit to the city?
There is an economic benefit having people come, and it's a destination for people to come to, but that probably wouldn't be the biggest benefit. Economic, it would be more of a people, family,
more quality of life.
Quality of life, yeah, definitely quality of life. And the reason that I say that is because with almost all parks, especially if you're going to have an active park, they never pay for themselves. Okay, it's something the community puts together because the community wants to have that activity in their community. Fields, turf, never pans out.
Okay. And then the last question I have, and I don't know actually if Michelle Connor might be a better person, but I'll give you the first stab. So we've talked quite a bit in the Wayne Committee about some of the possible public-private partnerships, and I know Forterra has told us that they're willing to step up and help us seek and find those relationships. And I wondered if Michelle would be willing to speak to what some of the possibilities might be. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, not at all. Well, I think the sky's the limit. And as John said, being able to issue an RFP based on parameters and goals that the city sets could deliver a host of things, from types of uses and public-private partnerships that you're already familiar with here in the city, to the example of the hangar base. But, it really depends on what your objectives are. And there are entities out of British Columbia that have adventure park programming where at least it covers the maintenance and the facilities. And I would say that there's the other economic drivers of the benefits to the city from that activation in terms of employee base, in terms of competitiveness for businesses coming here. And it's well documented that house values increase when there's great park access. So I think you could choose activities. King County's done a tremendous amount of work shaping public-private partnership programs, so there's some great models out there, and we'd be willing to help convene some brainstorming, bring together people who've negotiated on behalf of the public interest to make sure that you're getting the best deal for the public in that, based on perspectives of others.
Great. And one last question. Conditions of your sale to us.
Absolutely. Forterra expended a huge amount of resources to intervene in this. It was a crisis. We are selling it at the cost that we acquired it for and our carrying costs. And as a condition of our participation, we would ask that you assure that it stay in the public stewardship into perpetuity.
Great. Thank you so much.
Any other council members have questions? You'll have a chance to talk at the end too. Do you have any questions for staff? No? I have one question for the finance director. Can we afford to purchase the Wayne Golf Course?
We have the debt capacity to do so. I wouldn't take the cash on hand that we have for parks right now, which is about 3.6 million, I think. My recommendation was to use those monies towards other park needs within the city limits. And yes, I believe that there is enough park impact fee to make this payment. That said, it's a 20-year commitment. So that's a decision that you guys are making.
But we do see the revenues coming in over 20 years to be sufficient to handle the debt service, or not?
Yes, I believe that I expect park impact fees to come in between $500,000 and $800,000 a year.
Even in slow years?
Well, you know what? Properties turn over and development happens and they come in boom. So sometimes you get more in 1 year and less in another, or maybe over a 5-year period you get a ton, and the next 5 years you don't get as much. So that's planning. You know, that's what we do in the finance department. We make sure that we set those monies aside, and we know that development booms don't last forever, that type of thing.
I talked to the Office of Financial Management today. She had a lot of nice things to say about your department, by the way. The auditor.
And she was right.
Right. Every word. All right, if there's no further questions, we could do a motion, or we can go into council deliberation. Anybody want to? I can't make a motion. Councilmember McNeil?
And Mr. Mayor, can I speak before I make my motion?
Well, you can make your motion and speak to your motion. How does that sound?
All right, that's fabulous. So I would like to make a motion to direct the city manager to initiate an acquisition of the Wayne Sammamish Regional Park, utilizing the staff acquisition plan, and return to the city council with a full funding acquisition plan.
Second.
So it was moved by Councilmember McNeil, and I have to admit, Councilmember Agnew did second before he was done with his actual motion. So we have a motion and a second to, where are we? You just read that, didn't you? There it is. Direct the city manager to initiate acquisition of the Wayne Sammamish Regional Park utilizing the staff acquisition plan, and return to council with a full funding of our acquisition plan. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Absolutely. So first I would like to, I'm going to read this because I had a lot of words that I wanted to say tonight, because it has been a long journey for everybody in this community and around our region. And what I would like to do is first I'd like to thank all the past and present representatives, both state, county, and local level, that have worked diligently with us in this partnership to bring money to the city of Bothell to help us in the acquisition of this land. That includes Shelley Kloba, Derek Stanford, and our senator who's in the audience tonight, Guy Palumbo, as well as Rosemary McAuliffe, our past senator. When we talk about partnerships, we don't talk about a partnership with just one city or two. We talk about partnerships between counties. We also have a very strong partnership with Sammamish County, who we've heard tonight also gave us $1 million to help us purchase the Shelton View Forest. So we should also thank our Sammamish County Council and Councilmember Terry Ryan for helping us with that. I can't say enough about all the folks at King County, Garrett Holbrook, Bob Burns, for their tireless work and everything they've done from the day that we originally met with them on this mission and vision to where we are today. But along the way, I had the honor of meeting Larry Phillips and Louise Miller, who were both county council members in 1993 when the Conservation Future Initiative was passed. And I can't say enough about the vision of what we do today. Doesn't necessarily affect us today. It affects the future. So when we talk about the things that we do here today, they may not necessarily help us today, but they're going to help our future generations. And seeing all those kids that were standing up in front of us today, very emotional, because that is the power of what we're doing here. I want to thank Rod Dombowski, our county council member, who is steadfast and made sure that along the way we had the right partnerships. From the day I met him and he was in his cowboy boots the first time, he stayed true to us. He listened to the community, and he made sure when we needed the money was coming in. So I definitely want to make sure that we give a shout out to Rod Dombowski for that support. When I met Fatera for the first time, I had the opportunity to meet Michelle and her team, Jordan Rash and a few others. And I don't know what to say. I'm a true Washingtonian. I've been here my whole life. And the power of being able to do something when you stand together is amazing. It's amazing. I mean, to sit here and look out and see all of you sitting there, it's an amazing thing. And Michelle and her team not only help us here in Bothell, but they help other communities across Washington state. And I saw a picture of Michelle some 26 years ago with Jean on the Fatera website. What an amazing venture you guys have had. And thank you for what you're doing for the community of Bothell. Over the past several weeks, months, and I'll even go into years since January 9th, 2015, I've read each and every single letter and email that I've received from this community. I knocked on the doors and ran for council, and I listened to the folks on their doorstep about what was important to them. And it's important to know that the community as a whole, when they speak, their voice is heard. And so I want to thank you, the community, for making sure that we, the council, are hearing your voice and we're hearing it loud and clear. There's a lot more that I could say. I guess I'm going to read a couple little things from the conservation easement that stood near and dear to me that I've kept close. And I guess I would say that every decision we make as council members is important decisions. No decision is more important than another decision, but when you look at a decision that you're making that came from 1993 and we're making that decision today, I think that's a pretty important decision. There's a few lines in that, the conservation easement that read, the property possesses natural, scenic, open space, water resources, recreational value, collectively conservation values of great importance to the grantors, the people of the city of Bothell, the people of King County, and the people of the state of Washington. So our decision is not just a decision on behalf of the city of Bothell. This is a decision that we're making on behalf of the county and the state and our entire region. So I take this decision very seriously. It's an honor to have been part of this once in a lifetime opportunity. And when I say once in a lifetime, there's many, many cities, many, many counties that will never have this opportunity that we have here tonight to make a decision, a landmark decision this important that will not only affect us, but our future generations. And we hear about taking our grandchildren there and their grandchildren, and I do look forward to that day. So today I stand with my community to support this acquisition of the Regional Wayne Park. And I look forward to the rest of my council member colleagues standing with me in making this decision on behalf of our community. Thank you.
Councilmember Agnew.
There was another golf course that we had in this area that was on the Sammamish River. It was in Redmond. And I don't know if many of you remember that. It's Redmond Town Center now. But it was a gorgeous little course right on the river. And they had an opportunity to save it, and they didn't. We have an opportunity to save this, and I hope we will. I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. It's a pretty big testimony of what you want. And I think we need to listen to what you want, and we need to try to accomplish what you want. They were talking about a little apple orchard on the Wayne Golf Course. There's also on number 10 in the southwest corner, there's a little wild plum tree that is just great. I mean, and if you don't look at it, you'll never even find it. I've lived in Bothell for 36 years, and I couldn't be prouder of One Bothell and what Forterra and what everyone else has done to stand up and say, hey, what are we doing here? Let's take another look at this. Let's do the right thing. I'm not really in favor of councilmatic bonds. And the reason I'm not is because it doesn't go to a vote of the people. You know, if that's what we have to do, then that's what we have to do. I am in favor of being a good neighbor. The state and King County have stepped up to the plate big time, and we said, well, we'll step up too. Well, okay, if we said we're going to step up, we're going to step up. We're going to be good neighbors. How much is it going to cost us? I don't think we really know yet. I think it would be less if the owner didn't subdivide it just before the sale to Forterra, but that's water under the bridge, isn't it? I will be in support of this for quite a long period of time.
Deputy Mayor.
So I had the privilege of sitting on the Wayne Committee for the last year and a half. Such a powerful experience and proof of the power of regional partnerships and citizen activism. On that committee sit Forterra in King County and one Bothell and some of my fellow council members, and the energy in that room, it's amazing. We all just we don't have a common vision per se, but we have a solid view of our place in history. I won't go into all the names to thank, but we do so appreciate all our partners, and it's really taught me as a new council member what's possible. The impossible is possible if you have the right partners supporting you and teaching you kind of the tricks of the trade and how to collaborate. I also want to mention I think it's really important, and it's really been driven home to me how important it is to save this land, because I just took a little tour up to West Hill this week, and I had to force myself. There's a lot of trees that were taken down, and unfortunately that's growing pains, and we can't save every piece of land as much as we might want to. And then driving up to Sammamish County, I'm sure everyone's seen the trees coming down on 527. And again, we can't save everything, but boy, what an opportunity to save 89 acres. So I will be supporting this, and thanks again to all the partners and all of the citizen activists. What a difference you've made.
Councilmember Sandberg.
I want to echo Councilmember McNeil's eloquent gratitude to everybody who has participated in getting us to this point. And this truly is a unique opportunity, which would be a slam dunk easy decision if we had the money. And it looks like realistically, we are looking at needing to borrow $5.6 million. And over the course of that bond, that could grow to a total cost of $10 million. And so for me, it's a hard decision because we don't have the money. And years ago when I started on council, we used to have a policy of not relying on one-time revenues. And not only are we counting on these one-time revenues in the short term now, we're borrowing against them for 20 to 25 to 30 years. We're doing it with this building. We're doing it with the potential of borrowing money to buy the golf course. And there is a positive to that. You're purchasing property at today's value, using the money from the people who will benefit from it now. But the downside of that is that you're forever playing catch up. And in 2013, when the owners of Wayne Golf Course came to the city and offered the property to us for sale, had we had money in reserve and set aside for that opportunity, we wouldn't be here today. So I feel like it's important to point that out. I think it's also important to point out that in taking action with the Wayne Golf Course, we're postponing action on the other $45 million of unfunded park projects in the city. And yes, we've talked about setting aside $3.7 million of our existing park money to apply towards purchasing Shelton View Forest, which I strongly support. But we've had a long-standing commitment through our Parks and Recreation Open Space Action Plan to our North End residents to acquire a active park space up there which listed in the plan, listed in our capital facilities plan, is about a $5.5 million acquisition. So there are a lot of benefits to purchasing this property, but there are costs. It's not just the cost of acquisition, it's the cost of long-term maintenance and operation like we heard tonight. In my opinion, I know we're thinking ahead, and I won't be on council when these decisions are made, but the front 4 acres have to generate revenue, in my opinion, to offset the costs, the ongoing annual costs of not just the maintenance, but the debt service for the property. So I had the opportunity to speak with Michelle Connor about having their input on how we can get the best deal for the public on public-private partnerships, which I strongly support as a part of this motion, that we work with them to help us get the best deal in order to generate revenue from that property and have the best public-private partnership that serves the public's interest. So I will support this measure, but I would like to make an amending motion to this measure, which, based on what I'm hearing from the community, such strong support for parks and the importance of providing park space so that we don't have park deficit disorder, acknowledging that this property is only going to, it's only going to go away if we don't preserve it now. The same can be said in the North End. So I would like to make an amending motion that we direct city staff that in addition to moving forward with the funding mechanisms and acquisition for Wayne Golf Course, that we also add in money to acquire a Bothell, a North End Bothell Park that we have planned for in our PROSAP. I think this is a great opportunity to not just think about Wayne Golf Course, but also to think about other longstanding commitments to acquiring park space in the city. So that's my amending motion.
Is there a second to the amending motion?
I'll second for discussion.
You already spoke to your motion. Do you want to, you good there? Do you want to hand off the floor?
You know, if park acquisition is a fundamental value of this community, which is what I'm seeing here today, and if you feel strongly about the value of acquiring this park space in the south end of the city, I think it's important to honor our commitments with also looking at acquiring park space in the north end of the city as well. And that includes not just Shelton View, but our greater than 10-year promise or hope to acquire that active space in the north end of Bothell.
You want to speak to your second?
I'm somewhat confused because you just talked about how we can't afford it, and now we're going to talk about spending more money as part of this motion. And so we can't ask questions of staff. And so while I agree with the intent that we need to look at North End parks, I don't think that we should be tying them together in this way. And so I won't be supporting the amending motion.
Can I make a clarification? I never said that we can't afford it. I said we don't have the money in hand that we need to borrow.
Would anybody else like to speak to the amending motion? Councilmember McNeil?
I, too, will not be supporting this motion. I do want to make it very clear that parks, open space, active space, I would assume is important to the entire council. But this particular case, we have a partnership that has already been formed, and we're looking to close on the deal that we have set forward on. And I think there's an opportunity working the same type of partnerships with Snohomish County and working to make sure that we preserve the open space and active space that we've talked about in Snohomish County as well. And I think I spoke to that earlier about how we do that with the Snohomish County Council. But at this time, I think that we should probably, my support would be as a council to take Wayne as an independent, but I do support parks throughout the city of Bothell and regional parks as a whole.
So I'd like to speak to the amending motion. I've watched this Wayne Golf Course acquisition go through the whole process. I was in the executive session when we heard the back nine was open for us to make an offer on. And this acquisition and this discussion has gone through so many shifts and turns and highs and lows and everything else that the last thing I'm willing to do is to add anything to this discussion. So I'm going to vote no on the amending motion. You good? Good. Okay, so let's vote on the amending motion. Go ahead, place your vote. Fails 4-1 with Councilmember Spivey and Freed absent and excused. We're back to the underlying motion. I think everybody has had a chance to talk about the underlying motion except me. So I'm gonna just real quick. I had a few things jotted down here. So, like I just said, I was here at the very beginning. There was, when the conservation easement was first put on the front nine, it was actually said if the back nine was ever up for sale, the city was supposed to have the first opportunity to make an offer on the property. And we disclosed what happened in executive session as a group so I can actually speak to it. And we were advised at the time by city staff not to even put an offer up because we had no money. And we accepted that, and coming away from it, you know, I knew about it obviously because it was an executive session, but once the community became aware of it, that's when everything changed. Not only did it change about Wayne Golf Course, but the city changed, the city council changed, the leadership of the city changed. And it's not just because of this one thing, but this was a lightning rod that shot through this community and through this city government like I've never seen before. Luckily, I didn't get hit by the lightning rod, but I'm still here. But it really has been fascinating to see because it reminded me that actually good prevails. The people are in control of this government, and the people of this community will decide its fate. We are representatives of the community, but we are by no means in charge. We actually answer to you, and the community has spoken loud and clear about this, and we need to deliver. Yeah, there might be some hard years. There might be some problems with trying to make sure we make our payments. We will make our payments, I can assure you that. But there's no way, in looking back on what happened in that executive session and the things that took place after that, there is no way on my watch that I would ever vote no on trying to get this done. So I'm in full support. And just one last thing too, you know, it's interesting because as elected officials, especially as your mayor, I go around and I meet with other mayors and we go to these regional meetings and everything else. And still to this day, the first thing people say is, you guys got that Wayne thing figured out yet? And so, you know, I would love to finally be able to say, yes, we got it figured out. So I look forward to the vote, and I look forward to the package that will come forward from the city manager here in a few months. So I think that's all, unless the council wants to go another round. We're good. Okay, go ahead, place your vote. I think we all know what the underlying vote is, which is, just to be fun, direct the city manager to initiate acquisition of the Wayne Sammamish Regional Park utilizing the staff acquisition plan and return to the city council with a full funding acquisition plan. Go ahead, place your vote. Passes unanimously. Yeah. With Councilmember Spivey being freed, absent, and excused. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back at, how long a break you need? 10? We'll be back at 7:50 to continue the council meeting. We're in recess.